So Dragon's Dogma 2 released recently and I'm looking at the extortionate price. It is so expensive. Not to mention the microtransactions, which I know you can buy the items in-game, but let's be real here, was it really necessary to implement these transactions? Like, come on, it's a single player game. So I thought to myself, you know what, it's time we stopped enabling these predatory companies with their practices. It's about time we started investing in people who help develop our skills. And what better way than to start supporting artists? As the title suggests, I will be reviewing Samdoesarts' Patreon. I will be rating his Patreon out of 5 stars based on these categories, so stick around for that. Also Sam, if you want me to take this video down, I will take it down, just let me know. And just a quick note, you can have your own opinions about a person's art style. You may or may not like Sam's art style. I personally like it, but I know there are some people out there who dislike his art style. If you do, I don't give a f about your opinion, okay? I'm gonna like what I like. And the same goes to other people. You can't dictate what other people like. Keep your opinions to yourself. Anyway, who exactly is Samdoesarts? Now, unless you've been living under a rock, Samdoesarts is one of the bigger names to pop up in the art sphere in the past few years. If you've seen this particular style before, well, you can kind of say that he is the pioneer of it, if not made the style more popular. The only way I can describe the style is kind of like Disney-fied anime. It's certainly unique, with now lots of artists taking inspiration from him. As you can probably tell, this young man is very much in demand, racking up over 2 million followers on Instagram and almost 1.5 subscribers on YouTube. With that being said, and being the hottest topic in the art sphere, he has now taken the opportunity to start a Patreon and provide tutorials for patrons. Also, I won't be showing any content from the Patreon itself. If you came here for that, sorry bud. Now let's take a quick look at the membership tiers he offers. So the first tier is the Small and Mighty tier, which gives you full resolution PNGs of his art as well as access to the Discord community. And you also get a bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes in terms of what he's working on. Next you have the Brushes and Files tier, which gives you everything from the Small but Mighty tier, but you also get the brushes he uses alongside the Photoshop files of the art pieces he uploads to Instagram. You also get access to his full-length painting videos and any new brushes that he may release in the future. Next you have the Tutorials tier, which is the tier I'm currently subbed to. So in this tier you get everything from the previous tiers as well as a tutorial video per month, more painting videos, and you get to vote on the subject of the next tutorial video. Now here are the prices respectively. You can convert them to your local currency if you wish. For the sake of proving that I am subbed to Sam's Tutorials tier, here is a screenshot of my notifications page on Patreon, and here is the automated email I received after subbing. It basically just gives you a rundown of what tier you subscribe to. An interesting point of note though is once you're subbed to Sam's Patreon, you do get a free download code for all the rewards that you have unlocked. This code will be sent at the end of each month. You also do get a discount on the Gumroad store, which is worth 30% off. So if we have a quick look at what the Gumroad storefront looks like, here it is. All the items are pretty much priced the same, so all you have to do is just click on one that you want, and then choose from which of these 3 tiers you want, add it to cart, and then you can add the discount code. Also, in regards to the discount, I'm not sure if it's a single-use code or multi-use code, so just keep that in mind. A big thing to note though is that everything on the Gumroad store are the previous rewards from the Patreon, so if you missed out on a month and want what's being offered, you can purchase it from there. You won't unlock the previous rewards for free if you subbed after the month they were being offered. If you were hoping that was the case, sorry bud. But it does say that very clearly in the tier's description. I just wanted to correct something while I'm editing the video. Looking at it now, it really wasn't worded the best, but I feel like he could have added a short disclaimer saying that you can purchase the previous rewards in the Gumroad store, instead of saying that it will be archived. Anyway, back to the video. I know it can get a little tedious, but reading instead of skimming can really help a lot. And that goes not just with Patreon, but with a lot of other things too. You never know if you're getting the lower end of the stick whenever you're signing a deal. Not saying that Sam's evil or anything, it's just that whenever there's like a disagreement when it comes to how things work, it's usually because someone misinterpreted what was being said in the document/agreement. Anyway, let's move on to what's being offered in the Patreon tiers. So I won't be showing anything from the Patreon itself, but I will say that there are some surprises that Sam keeps private for the Patreon, I think. That you'll have to find out yourself. I don't think it's my place to reveal what it is. For those of you thinking about subbing to the tutorials tier, you're probably wondering about how he goes about delivering the tutorials. The tutorials are delivered through a video format which he posts to the Patreon. And if you miss out on the video, or if you're just too lazy to scroll down or check the Patreon page, at the end of every month he does send out a code through email for a full discount, meaning you get the item for free. So if you're a procrastinating artist like me, which honestly we shouldn't be, check your email at the end of every month if you're subbed, look for the code, pop over to the Gumroad store, pick the month the code is for, then apply the code on checkout. Or you can also click the link to the Gumroad store he provides in the email. I think it goes without saying that the tutorials themselves are valuable. If you want to, you can also draw along with Sam while you're watching the tutorial, which you should because it really helps out. A really good supplement to the value and what really makes it worth subbing to his second or third tiers is going to be the Photoshop files for his drawings. They give you a more intimate look into what his work process is like, and I'm happy to say that even though he's an art god, his process is pretty much the same as ours, maybe with just more, well, less layers. Unlike us plebs who are unsure and copy paste every single layer to make sure we have a backup. Tutorials aside, I feel like even if you sub to the second tier, the Photoshop files in itself can teach you a lot in regards to how he does things or what the artist's workflow is like. When you really get to dissecting the layers, you can identify what types of layers he uses, how he uses them, why he uses them. And while it's not exactly like a handheld tutorial, you can still learn a lot from them. Finally, you have access to his exclusive Discord channel, which is pretty active, I would say. It's got plenty of channels dedicated to specific things such as sharing your art, getting art critique, sharing your hobbies, and most importantly, resources to help you along your art journey. I personally haven't posted anything on any of the channels, but I think if you're looking for a community that's bustling, this is a great starting point if you haven't found like a community on Discord. The best part about the Discord community is that while there are a lot of artists in the Discord server, it's not like they're all experts, right? Even if you're a complete beginner, there's still a place for you there. And if you ask for help or need anything, someone will point you to the right direction. That's pretty much it in terms of what content is being offered through Patreon. There are a couple of hidden gems there that's up to you to decide if you want to join. I'm not going to talk about them. With that being said, it's now finally time to rate Sam's Patreon. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I will be rating the Patreon based on these factors, but first let's start with who it's for. Whether you're a casual fan who likes his stuff or if you're someone who wants to learn certain techniques from him, this is certainly something you may want to consider. Really, it's for anyone who wants to support him financially if you're in the capacity to do so. Moving on to the first category, the goodies. So I've probably mentioned these enough times, you probably know them already, but let's go through them again. The tutorials, the Discord, the high-res files for his art, the PSD files, and the brushes. I would say this is a pretty good deal, and each of these are nicely separated into the different tiers. And because of the way the rewards are categorized into different tiers, it's really easy to distinguish what you really want from Sam's Patreon, if you do decide to sub. So no matter what type of membership you decide to go with, you'll probably get what you want. For this category, I would give it full stars. Now regarding the tutorials. So far I only have access to 2 tutorials, but from what I've seen, the video quality is actually pretty good. Not saying this just because of the camera quality, okay? But because of the way Sam goes about making sure that he goes about delivering the tutorial in the best way possible. That means he'll redo the entire video if he has a better idea. He also encourages you to draw along with him to help you better absorb the material. Not to mention a couple of the tips and tricks he sprinkles along the way. So you can say it's a bit of a pseudo masterclass. I also wanted to add that because there's a lot of art tutorials on YouTube for free, it's kind of hard to get what you really want in terms of the quality of the tutorial. Like you type in hair tutorial on YouTube and you get a bunch of different results. Mind you, I'm not saying that they're all bad. There are some great channels like Proco, Mark Brené, and Marco Bucci, to name a few. But back to Sam, his tutorials are pretty good if you want to learn from him specifically, without having to filter through all the art tutorials on YouTube. One thing to note though, scrolling through his Gumroad, there are a couple of repeat tutorials like these. And I'm not 100% sure if it's because of this, but if it's because he changed the way he goes about drawing these certain things, I think he should. Well, not should, but I would recommend him taking down the outdated tutorial. That's just me though, I'm not gonna tell him how to run his business. So racking up all those factors, we're setting at a 4.9 out of 5 stars. Alright, now for the more sensitive category, pricing. I'll post all the tier prices here again, here you go. In terms of pricing, it is quite a bit on the higher end if you're looking for the tutorials. Again, referring back to the Gumroad store, everything is similarly priced, so if you're looking for the tutorials, that's about 20 bucks. And that goes for all the tutorials that you missed out on if you weren't subbed during that month. If you just wanted the high-res files and a Discord community and some extra goodies, I think the small and mighty tier is reasonably priced. For the tutorials tier though, it's either you pay the monthly sub fee or you wait for the Gumroad store to update. For the pricing, I think I would give it a 3 or 4 out of 5, just based off the fact that if you weren't subbed to a month's tutorial, you do end up paying more than the Patreon sub fee if you miss out on the month. They are pretty fairly priced though, based off of the fact that Canada's pretty expensive to live in, so get that bag. As for the final verdict, is Samdoesarts' Patreon really worth it? Overall, I would say it's worth considering if you want to learn from him specifically. Otherwise, like I said before, if you are just a fan of his art and don't necessarily want the other things directed towards aspiring artists, you may be better off joining the small but mighty tier if you do want to sub to his Patreon. In regards to the other tiers, which is aimed more towards artists, it's definitely an option to consider if you don't want to have to filter through all the tutorials on YouTube, since you'll be learning from an artist you're a fan of and you know you can trust. You'll be getting step-by-step processes as well as his brushes, but just a side note, brushes don't make the artist, it's the practice that does, so even though if you have Sam's brushes, it's not the magic pill. Make sure you stay on that grind. Again, the price point is a little bit more towards the higher end, especially if you're thinking about subbing to the Patreon for more than 1 month, and it can be a little daunting considering if you earn sub to a specific month, you'll have to pay more than the sub for the tutorial on the Gumroad store. But compared to the price of other art courses online like the ones over at Colosso, you get a pretty good value for your money. That being said, if you don't want to flesh out some money for the Patreon sub, the option to just pick and choose which tutorial you want from the Gumroad store is available to you, which is nice. Overall, I rate his Patreon a solid 4.5. Anyway, that's it for the video. Like it or dislike it if you want. If you like these types of videos, let me know in the comments, and if you want more of these types of videos, I don't know if I'll make more of them honestly. Sub to the channel if you want to. I also have art on my Instagram page. Anyway, yeet!